seen a lot of videos online lately on Instagram, Facebook, things like that, of all these mountain run videos or toge videos. A lot of them are just people driving like trash. They're new to the space and they just don't understand their car's limits or respect the road itself, and they just end up in trouble, or people just roasting them after they post a video. So today I'm going to show you guys some tips on how to actually drive properly and safely and faster even, and meanwhile respecting your car's limits and the road's conditions, things like that. All right, so first thing I do before I even go out driving is check it over my car. And you know, even just the basics, tires, tire pressure, you know, brake pad wear. So you got to take your wheels off sometimes to see the brake pad wear. But I mean, just little things like that. I mean, if you have a mechanical failure on a high-speed corner, I mean, and you're already driving at the limits, there's not much wiggle room for errors at that point, and you can have a major problem on your hands. So doing a 5-minute inspection of your car is pretty important. And then some longer term things you want to check over, let's say like once a month if you're driving the canyons regularly, are things like brake fluid, just making sure it's clear, not burnt or old. A lot of times if it's old or burnt, it'll look black. Brake fluid is supposed to actually look clear when you get it. And then, you know, if you hear your tires squealing in the front, either you need some more mechanical grip by either better tires or lowering the tire pressure a little bit, or adding some camber in the front or rear, depending on, you know, which side is breaking loose. But you know, just little things like that go a long way. The other thing I would say, if you're completely new to driving canyons, or even new to a specific vehicle, like I have 5 different vehicles I bring out there, you know, just go in a big empty parking lot and just see where your grip limits are. See when you're taking a corner at what speed the car breaks loose, or what happens when the car breaks loose, so you can actually predict you know, what to do and correct that if there is a problem out there. Make sure, you know, this is pretty basic, but if you drive stick, you know, make sure you know how to rev match the car. You know, if you get a new car and you're not comfortable with that yet, you know, you're gonna have a little bit of trouble being out there in the canyons and navigating your vehicle properly if you can't rev match on downshifting. So make sure you practice that, and you're smooth shifting the car, and you're really comfortable with the car before you even get out there. Also, before you even go out and drive the canyons, make sure you as a person are in the right state of mind. If you're angry or depressed or have certain feelings that day, you know, it's not a good idea to go out there. You know, emotions and driving don't always mix. I had this one guy in a Subaru in my group, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna go out to the canyons to release some stress and anger from work today, and he ended up crashing the first corner into the canyons. So just make sure that you're in the right state of mind and ready to go. First thing you want to do when you come out here is, before you start going all crazy in the corners, even the first couple corners, feel out the road conditions. You know, what's the temperature of the road itself? If it's cold, you need to make sure you really heat up your tires, and you're not going to have that overall mechanical grip that you're used to on a warm road. A lot of people actually overlook that, especially like in Arizona, when you go up at higher elevations and all of a sudden it's 100 degrees in the valley, and then it's 60 degrees, you know, up when you get to the mountains itself. Your level of grip is actually going to change. If there's any sort of debris or dust in the road, I mean, that makes a huge impact on grip. I actually run a toge group here in Arizona, and we have like 200-300 people in the group. But you know, the biggest thing, and I'm kind of you know, a policeman about it, is, you know, you got to make sure you can't be crossing a double yellow line. I see it all the time. Unless you're on a closed road where there's only traffic coming one way, or let's say the road just leads to a dirt road and there's not really any traffic coming the other way, you know, it's not worth risking that extra second of time or keeping up with your buddy that might have more grip than you. Usually what I do is I won't have my music blasting. I'll actually have it turned all the way down, and then just keep, you know, your driver or passenger side windows cracked, and just listen for any sort of tire noise or feedback from the car. Sometimes you can catch mechanical failures early enough if you have your window cracked and you can listen to outside and what's going on and sort of prevent problems. You know, if you're taking corners and your tires are squealing the whole time, you know, back it off a little bit. You know, maybe you need to lower your tire pressure or add more front camber, you know, things like that. First thing I'm going to talk about is braking. A lot of people will kind of do this wrong. So you really don't want any of your braking in the corner itself. I see a lot of people slamming on their brakes when they get to the corner. You know, make sure you do all your braking in the straightaway before the corner. And what you want to do, there's a methodology called trail braking, where as soon as you tip into the corner, slowly let off that brake pedal, and by the time you're at the apex, you're fully let off the brake. And then once you get to the apex, you can let back on the gas again, gradually. All right, next tip is to make sure you're being nice and smooth with all of your driving inputs. So let's say I'm just taking this corner, for example. Just nice and smooth, no jerky motions on the brakes, throttle, anything. Just think of your car as, you know, balancing on, let's say, like a ball or a basketball or something, and 3,000 pounds of weight on that ball. So it's a balancing act, and as soon as you like turn fast or suddenly jerk the wheel in the middle of a corner, I mean, you upset that weight balance and it just throws everything off, and you can spin out of control, understeer. So always make sure you're just nice and smooth with everything, and knowing the road too is a huge help. You can sort of predict, you know, the radius of the corner that's coming up, things like that. Next tip is, I don't know if you ever seen this video, but there's a really awesome video, maybe I'll link to it, of an F1 driver, and they have some sort of eye tracking to see where his eye position is on the track. And what's crazy is, you know, how fast these F1 cars are going. You know, they're looking way ahead in the distance. They're not looking immediately in front of them, things like that. You're gonna do the same thing when you're driving the canyons, is look way, way ahead as far as you possibly can. And that way, you know, you can anticipate corners a lot better. You're a lot smoother driving. The only thing it doesn't help on is a corner like this, a decreasing radius corner. So right here it gets tighter. Vision, you can't see through walls, so that's the only issue with that. Just like when I was talking about braking, you know, you make sure that all of your shifting is done before the corner as well. If you know the road, you can anticipate the sort of radius and speed your car's going, and if you know the gearing in your car, you can gear down appropriately before the corner even comes. I'll see a lot of people braking and shifting in the middle of the corner. I mean, that completely upsets the weight balance of the car, you know, especially if you aren't rev matching. Finally, we'll talk about throttle input, okay? So this is gonna depend on what type of wheel drive your car is. So the latest you're gonna get on your gas is actually in a rear wheel drive car. I found that a little bit past the apex of the corner is when you start easing onto the gas, or the rear can step out. And then second is probably going to be your front wheel drive car. You can probably get on the gas again in the middle of an apex or just before the apex in front wheel drive, because those front wheels will sort of claw your car in the direction that your wheels pointed. And then lastly, all-wheel drive. You can actually get on the gas as soon as your car is pointed to that corner exit. So super early. A lot of guys will actually slide their car a little bit too with all-wheel drive as they get more comfortable with their platform, obviously. But that's kind of how it goes. It just really depends on what wheel drive your car is. All right, so now in this back section here, with a little bit less traffic, I'm actually going to put everything I talked about into motion and sort of add some commentary as I'm driving, or trying to at least, and give you guys some tips sort of as I'm going through, so you can see live examples. So here I'm cutting this corner as close as possible, flipping the other side, hugging this inside, flipping back, cutting that as hard as I can. Straightaways, just full gas, looking ahead as far as I can. Again, looking super far ahead. I'm almost looking into the next corner already. Tight corner here. Hard on the brakes. Back off, turning in. Looking ahead, I can see that this is sort of a more gradual corner. Again, more gradual corner. I can see far ahead. And looking way up the mountain there. Nice gradual inputs with the steering, nothing too crazy. Alright, so again, looking far ahead, I can see there's a tight corner up here, so downshifting a couple times. You can see that this kind of turns up here, so nice hard on the brakes, downshifting into second, back on the gas. Hard on the brakes, still in second because my car can carry it through, back on the gas super early. Downshifting. On the brakes, second gear, back on that gas, a little bit of oversteer. See, there's a hairpin coming up here, so I'm going to downshift into second. Hard on the brakes, back on the gas early, back on the gas here, keeping my eyes around this corner. I can see there's another corner coming up, downshifting, back on the gas. So a couple of those corners, I don't know if you saw, but the car wanted to step out in the rear, and that was a result of too much gas too early in that corner. Generally, if you want to become faster, you know, you got to get on that gas as soon as you possibly can while controlling the car. If you have too much throttle input in a rear-wheel drive car, you'll either spin out or just drift. So just keeping it tidy is, you know, modulating that throttle as much as you can. So again, just make sure you're looking over your car before you even start a canyon run. make sure it's mechanically sound, and then once you get out there, warm up your tires, check the conditions of the road, and then as you're driving, just make sure you know the road itself before you push it harder, and then just make sure you're nice and smooth with your steering inputs, your braking inputs, and your shifting, to make sure you don't upset the balance of the car. And then lastly, pick your line accordingly. Changing up your line and not crossing double yellow can make a huge impact in how much time it takes to run through a canyon session. So again, hopefully that was helpful. I see a lot of people do it wrong or super cringy videos, so I just want to set the record straight in some things and get some more information out there. So thanks for watching, guys.